Many people remember and love the film released in 1979, Moscow Doesn't Believe in Tears. In this film, there is a character working on television as a cameraman in Ostankino. He says, you know, in general, over time, television will change the life of all mankind. There will be nothing, no cinema, no theater, no books, no newspapers, one solid television. You will remember my words in 20 years. Indeed, television as one of the main mass media has become very widely used to convey information to people. But the question is, what information? We are witnessing how television is becoming more and more a means of mass disinformation. The media have become commercial and uncontrolled by government agencies. Informing society takes place in the interests of the owners of media holdings or other representatives of government structures who unlawfully use information technologies to influence society to achieve their goals. I would like to recall the words of the head of Sberbank about the media. He said, how to lead, how to manage such a society where everyone has equal access to information, everyone has the opportunity to judge directly, to receive uncut information through government trained analysts, political scientists, and huge machines that are lowered on their heads, the media, which are as if independent, but in fact, we understand that all the media are still busy building, preserving strata. The 9th of February 2022, the TVC TV company aired a program that was a concentric lie, slander, where insults were openly showered on the multi-million audience, and throughout the entire program, the artificial creation of evidence of the accusation was traced, which showed a complete lack of compliance not only with the laws, but also elementary human respect, honor, and dignity, not only to the person about whom the program was made, but also to all people who will watch this program, in general to all people. Such manipulation of frames, information, comments, interviews, such a number of lies in 39 minutes is a disgrace to television and everyone who participated in the creation of this program. Let's take a look. The verdict, Grigori Grabovoi.
Исцеление от сглаза, привороты, возврат любимого. Стандартный набор магических услуг.
Lies and slander. Grigori Grabovoi has nothing to do with magical services. Comparing an academician to women who do spells is a direct insult and an attempt to defame. Grigori Grabovoi is a scientist, doctor of physical and mathematical sciences. All documents and diplomas of Grigori Grabovoi were examined by the court in 2008. The court found that Grigori Grabovoi had higher education, academic titles and degrees, and patented inventions. The court confirmed the legitimacy of diplomas and patents. Grigori Grabovoi's patents and scientific technologies make it possible to make any objects transport safe, that is, to protect them from catastrophes and terrorist acts. Legitimate means real, legal. The legitimacy of the documents has been proven in court, which means that on the basis of prejudice, the documents of Grigori Grabovoi must be accepted without proof by all officials and state institutions.
Гробовой уверял, что может предсказать землетрясения, наводнения, извержения вулканов. Способен предотвращать авиакатастрофы.
Grigori Grabovoi, having unique abilities of controlling clairvoyance and forecasting, didn't assure anyone that he could predict. He gave forecasts, which prevented hundreds of aviation accidents, saved hundreds of people. All the results of the forecasts are recorded in protocols signed by commissions consisting of people who held serious responsible positions: directors, bosses, engineers, pilots, cosmonauts, scientists. You will not be able to refute these protocols and testimonies because behind them there are real people who were witnesses to the rescue and prevention of disasters, witnesses of unique scientific discoveries and developments. That's why you didn't show these protocols and certificates. And there are 3 volumes in the collection Practice of Control, The Way of Salvation. There are just more than 400 such protocols for the rescue of aviation equipment. In 1992, the Uzbek Civil Aviation Authority was transformed into the national airline Uzbekistan Airways. Its first president was the former head of the Uzbek State Aviation Administration, honored pilot of the USSR, deputy of the Supreme Soviet of the RSFSR, of the Uzbek SSR, of the 10th Convocation from 1980 to 1985, Gani Mazitovich Rafikov. In his testimony of the conclusion of the contract for work on the analysis, diagnosis, and forecasting of aviation malfunctions, Rafikov wrote, in October-November 1991, the control experiments made by Grabovoi at the facilities of Tashkent Air Technical Base and at the engine testing station of Aviation Equipment Repair Plant number 243 HA were carried out successfully. 100% convergence of the results of psychic forecasts was the reason to conclude Agreement Number 9 on December 2, 1991 between GV Askon and Uzbek Civil Aviation Authority, the national airline of Uzbekistan from 1992. This agreement marked the beginning of the formalization of a new direction in the diagnostics of aircraft equipment, technological processes, investigation of airplane accidents, and forecasting and prevention of airplane crashes. The materials of these works were presented in reports on the topic of the contract and were formalized by acts and protocols. I think that, like everything new, this direction requires systematization, analysis, and study to understand still unknown laws of the hidden world owned by Grabovoi. The understanding of these laws may change many of our ideas about the world around us and force us to change our attitude towards many values regardless of age, nationality, and creed. I am sure of one thing: the knowledge that Grabovoi Grigori Petrovich possesses opens new horizons for humanity in understanding universal laws. Moscow, date the 1st of November 1996. Signature of the person who filled out the certificate, Rafikov. Before 1991, there were many accidents in the Uzbek airline. Thanks to cooperation with Grigori Grabovoi since 1991, the aviation company has received 2 international level flight safety certificates for the first time in the history of the airline. Hero of the Soviet Union, honored military pilot of the Russian Federation, Colonel General Nikolai Timofeyevich Antoshkin, spoke about cooperation with Grigori Grabovoi in his interview. Nikolai Antoshkin was the only commander-in-chief of the Air Force of the Moscow Military District who had no serious accidents in 2 years. Antoshkin. I am grateful to him in the other way, that he was one of the first to determine that Radiation was not removed from my bone marrow after Chernobyl. Why I am still alive? Many participants, and there are probably more than 10,000, have already died. Voice of the announcer. At a distance, without touching the technique, the scientist pointed out the malfunctions of the aircraft and warned about possible troubles. Antoshkin. When I took command of the Moscow District Air Force, well, officially there were 7 aviation disasters, accidents, plus the so-called hidden four encourages, up to 100, more than 50 dead, that is officers, soldiers, warrant officers. Well, there were a lot of accidents and crimes. Taking into account my previous experience, taking into account the data of these people, the situation has managed to turn for the better. 2 years later, the Moscow District Air Force stopped falling. We achieved this. So far, on the part of my subordinates and their families, I feel sometimes even a certain respect. I always told them before, I told them, you'd be laughing now. You, I said, you'd be cursing at me, but you'd remember when you, alive, you'd retire healthy. We are illiterate enough in many areas and don't raise ourselves like this. Well, if there are such people, it's necessary to use their experience. We have to make them work with scientists. The opportunities that they have pass on to other people. Direct everything to the good of man. Then the journalist Maxim Shevchenko is shown, who is trying to accuse Grigori Grabovoi of something. He says,
Он преследовал власть, деньги, самоутверждение. Если так, тогда он виновен.
guilty of what? The authors of the TV program had the task to accuse, as in Krylov's boss, you are guilty because I want to eat. And from that moment on, the intent of the program is not only slander, but also the artificial creation of prosecution evidence. Then in the program verdict, the plot about coronavirus is voiced.
Ученые и врачи, рискуя жизнью, по мнению Гробового, ничем помочь не могут.
Lies and slander. Grigori Grabovoi never said that. On the contrary, he always said that if a person needs to see a doctor or needs some medical procedures, they should be done. You should see a doctor. The journalist Pavel Selin, who with neglect and putting to blame says that
я не знаю, не дай бог, Господи, всемирная эпидемия поноса, Гробовой будет лечить весь мир от поноса.
the information for the attention of Pavel Selin, if necessary, will cure of diarrhea as well. Grigori Grabovoi carried out preventive measures in November 2005. Thus, he didn't allow excess of toxic substances in drinking water in Khabarovsk after huge amounts of benzene from a chemical plant in China hit the waters of the Amur. In addition, Grigori Grabovoi, on the basis of his patents, developed unique devices that have a medical orientation. They have already been tested and scores of good results have been obtained. These results are written in the certificate, but you haven't shown them either. You don't benefit from it. Next.
За решеткой Гробовой провел 4 года, и в тюрьме его не любили. Сокамерники возмущались, что знаменитый маг и целитель не может подлечить никого из зэков. Никакой методики у него и нет.
This is artificially creating evidence for the prosecution again. Why should he treat anyone in prison? He didn't come to work there as a doctor. A man was put in prison. But somehow the authors of the TV program Verdict didn't say anything about the decision of the European Court. On September 22, 2016, the European Court of Human Rights, by its judgment, declared illegal 26 orders of detention and long-term detention of Grigori Grabovoi with payment of compensation. That is, Grigori Grabovoi was detained illegally. Watching further. Even from education, the authors of the program tried to make an accusation, to reproach. Listen to what the announcer says.
За профессией смышленый парень двинул в столицу Узбекистана. Почему именно туда, остается загадкой.
And why did you go to work on television? Please report back. Let's move on.
Но на самом деле все было не так. Гробового Ванга раскусила быстро, и это был позор.
Она вызвала из толпы мужчину с ребенком маленьким. Девочка, только 4 годика ей было. И попросила Гробовую, скажи, пожалуйста, что у нее?
Гробовой, говорит Людмила, тут же определил, что у девочки больной живот и посоветовал лечить ребенка отваром зверобоя. И Ванга взорвалась и выгнала ученого в шею.
My name is Olga Alenikova. In 2006, I met Valentina Genkova, a Bulgarian journalist and film director. I asked her for a film she made on Bulgarian television about Grigori Grabovoy's meeting with Vanga. Valentina Sidorovna gave me a videotape. The film was in Bulgarian, and of course we talked to her. Valentina Genkova said that a group was going to meet with Vanga, which included Lyudmila Kim. But, attention, Vanga refused to allow Lyudmila Kim to this meeting. Take a close look at the footage of the video. Vanga can be seen. Grigori Grabovoy is sitting opposite. Next to him, Valentina Genkova, Vladimir Sudakov, a representative of Bulgarian television, and a videographer who was holding a video camera in his hands. There is no Lyudmila Kim. The question raises, how can a person who was not at the meeting say that Vanga kicked someone out? How was such a version born in general? It's clear that Lyudmila Kim was very upset when she was not allowed to attend this meeting. So maybe that's why she was not allowed to attend, because Vanga saw what kind of a person Kim was. And Valentina Genkova in her interview clearly said that Vanga didn't expel Grigori Grabovoy. But for some reason, the authors of the program ignored the testimony of the director Genkova, who was a direct participant in the meeting and made a film about this meeting. Valentina Genkova. When I saw a program in which the context from my film was suddenly placed, I was surprised. The comment was completely different. That is, they didn't translate my comment, but commented that Vanga kicked out Grabovoy. That's not true. There is also a written testimony of Valentina Genkova, the author of the film, about the meeting with Vanga, that Vanga didn't expel Grigori Grabovoy, but on the contrary, saw and noted how important his contribution to the salvation of mankind is. Then the journalist Pavel Selin says,
Эта очередь покупала у помощника Гробового, значит, какие-то наклейки. Такие наклейки, ну как голограмма, такая, знаете, переливающаяся, прямо они с руками у меня отрывали эти наклейки. Вот, и он им говорил, значит, возьмете эту наклейку, говорил помощник Гробового, да, значит, приклеите на паспорт, обязательно на паспорт, значит, и паспорт всегда носите рядом с сердцем. Значит, и у вас все будет хорошо.
This is another lie. He doesn't even really know what he's talking about. Some stickers. On the basis of Grigori Grabovoy's patents, sticker models were created, which were issued by thousands free of charge to everyone. People installed these stickers on buildings, equipment, and vehicles, thus preventing disasters and even terrorist attacks. There is also evidence of this. Then the authors of the TV show seem to have little humiliation. They went so far as to say,
А Гробовой был плохо одет, имел весьма серую внешность и был начисто лишен обаяния.
lies and slander. Hundreds of people communicated with Grigori Grabovoy, and thousands saw him at training seminars. And everyone can confirm that the scientist Grigori Grabovoi was always dressed in his finest, very solidly, in a perfectly fitting suit, with a perfectly matched color scheme of shirt, tie, and suit itself. And concerning charm, the authors of the program made a mistake all the more. Hundreds of people who have communicated with him can see that Grigori Grabovoi is a very interesting person, always treats people with maximum respect and attention. The opinion of very many people who have ever communicated with him was expressed by a military test pilot of the first class, 102-time world record holder, colonel engineer, doctor of technical sciences, Professor Marina Lavrentievna Popovich. In her interview with journalist Larissa Bachanova in 2007, she said about Grigori Grabovoi, "I adore him. He's a very interesting person, and I have met him more than once. But he helped many people. He did a lot, including for the country as a whole." Then the journalist Pavel Selin allegedly imitates Grigori Grabovoi.
Когда желтая выйдет через черное, формула М16, 24, 1 считаю, 2, 14, 16, и потом из-за лунной фаза йога Махатма Кришна. И вот это абсолютно набор какой-то идиотический. И это не прекращалось на протяжении, я не знаю, 2,5 часов.
Well, what Pavel Selin said, he invented himself, and it has nothing to do with academician Grigori Grabovoi. All Grigori Grabovoi's seminars were recorded on a video camera on dictaphones. Grigori Grabovoi has never pronounced such words or something like that. All his seminars are created very clearly and logically. That is, again, an attempt to create accusations of a non-existent act. In addition, this is an insult not only to academician Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi. Among the listeners of his seminars, there are people with different education, in particular with high education, and doctors of sciences, and professors. And such nonsense, which was invented by the journalist Pavel Selin and others like him, the authors of the TV show, is already an insult to thousands of people who came to the seminars of the scientist Grigori Grabovoi and are studying his works now. People not only study his works, but also get results in normalizing events, restoring health, and helping other people. There are already thousands of testimonies about the results of work on Grigori Grabovoi's technologies. Some of them are included in volumes 4, 5, and 6 of the collection Practice of Control, The Way of Salvation. Behind every testimony, there is a real person, a real event, but you didn't show the results, although there are many of them on Grigori Grabovoi's website. Further,
Почти год понадобился суду, чтобы разобраться в этом запутанном деле. В итоге его обвинили в 11 случаях мошенничества в особо крупном размере.
there was no fraud. In order to discredit the personality of Grabovoi Grigori Petrovich, unscrupulous journalists in their articles call him a fraudster, focus on a criminal record, deliberately misinform the reader, focusing on creating an image of a criminal which in fact doesn't correspond to reality. Since fraud hasn't been proven, among other arguments, including the fact that the Supreme Court of the Russian Federation declared the detention of Grabovoi illegal, cancelling 26 resolutions on the detention of Grabovoi on April 11, 2018, and resumed proceedings against Grabovoi. This opens up new circumstances, consisting in the fact that due to the illegal detention of Grabovoi, his rights to defense were violated. That is, the evidence of the prosecution is inadmissible. Therefore, the conviction against Grabovoi is illegal. In accordance with the law, Grabovoi has no record of convictions. Further,
Воскрешать людей до него никто не брался. Это было абсолютное ноу-хау Гробового, от которого у нормальных людей волосы становились дыбом.
And then
совершенно бесстыдно. Потому что, знаете, и бесы знают, что не в их власти воскресить человека.
if the authors of the program don't know what Christianity is living in Russia, then we can remind that Christianity is a belief in resurrection. The 11th and 12th articles of the Creed say, I look for the resurrection of the dead and the life of the age to come. Amen. There are many resurrections recorded in the lives of the saints. Jesus Christ resurrected. Saints such as Sergius of Radonezh and Panteleimon are known to everyone in Russia. Look at their lives. They resurrected. Many saints revered in other countries resurrected. In his sermon, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow and all Russia said on the feast of the Ascension of the Lord on 10th June 2021,
Те, кто умер, воскреснут.
those who died will rise with their bodies, and those who will live until the last moment of human history will have their bodies changed. And these will be other bodies, real bodies, but similar to the one possessed by the Savior after his resurrection. He ate food, but at the same time he could pass through walls and instantly find himself in one or another point of geographical space. The transformed body no longer obeys physical laws, but it is a human body. That is, Christianity is a belief in the resurrection of the dead, and to present the theme of resurrection as something condemned is an encroachment of Christian foundations, Christian commandments, and Christian faith. But even here, the authors of the TV show didn't seem enough. Despite the fact that a man is married and has a family, there was invented the term astral wife, and they began to show an extraneous lady in different episodes. In this program, in a hospital bed. Longo was shown again. There were no intersections between the activities of Grabovoi and the activities of Longo. Accordingly, there have never been any conflicts between them. Information about a certain energy action of Grabovoi in the direction of Longo, which has no material basis, was launched by the media in order to influence justice, in order to cause a negative attitude towards Grabovoi. This information, in combination with other slanderous information launched against Grabovoi by the mass media of Russia and other countries, led to an illegal, unjustified conviction of the court instead of an acquittal, and an excessively severe punishment was imposed by the court. Therefore, according to the legal qualification, these actions of the media of Russia and other countries in relation to Grabovoi Grigori Petrovich contain the corpus delicti provided for an Article 294 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, obstruction of justice and preliminary investigation. The program again raised the topic of Beslan, voicing false information that there was allegedly a promise to resurrect children who died in a terrorist act, and allegedly someone asked for money for this. This is slander, which has been multiplied by the media for 16 years. Beslan's mothers made statements many times, wrote letters, gave interviews that neither Grigori Grabovoi nor any of his students had ever been to Beslan. No one promised to resurrect the children, and no one took any money from the mothers of Beslan. That is, the authors of the TV show are engaged not only in disinformation, slander, but also, in fact, information terrorism. Susanna Petrovna Dudiyeva. And now I want to say that Grigori Petrovich has never been to Beslan. He has never promised to resurrect our children. And I want to say that this blown up case, with the use, or I should say, with the involvement of the Beslan events, is very shameful for Russia and for the entire judicial system. It is shameful for the prosecutor's office. I want to say this one more time for the knowledge of all people that this is a vile slander. It is very shameful, very disgusting to accuse a person mixing all this with the events in Beslan. This interview is located on the internet at the link. A kaleidoscope of cut frames, fragments of phrases, comments, everything is made up in such a way that artificial accusations were publicly created in the broadcast. A non existent corpus delicti was formed, and this indicates direct intent based on slander, insults, and misinformation. By the way, they didn't even write at the end of the program who the authors were, who the actors were, and so on. But it won't be difficult to find out. TVC TV channel, by releasing such a program, completely discredited itself as a media and showed all the venality, falsehood, violation of human morality, ethics, as well as complete disregard for the laws.